Well, hello. Welcome on, Melissa.
Hi, Kelly. Thank you for having me. So exciting to be live on the Hype Hour instead of behind the scenes.
I know. It's great to have you on. I know we had some technical difficulties during the actual show, but now we're live again. And I'm so excited to be able to talk through some of these amazing insights that you have as we go from the past, we talked about the present, and now we're going into the future of what's to come for marketing and 2021.
Yes,
So, yeah,
segment.
really
Excited to hear them.
I know. Well, I know you have a story for us, and I want you to go through it because I think it's so interesting and fascinating, kind of seeing where you've been and where you are now. So maybe give us a little bit of an overview.
Yes, I've got a little anecdote that I thought gave some good perspective. So I know you guys already gave me a great introduction. Thank you so much. But yes, I've been with BDS over 16 years. I can't believe it. And I've had a front row seat to watch the fast pace of retail and especially technology evolve. And I was kind of thinking about it over the Thanksgiving weekend a bit. So to give it perspective, I started out on a holiday assisted sales program that sold big box TVs. I'm sure there are people watching who might not have really ever seen a big box TV, but this was the JVC HD ILA rear projection TV. I can barely get it out in one mouth, but a former BDSer bought one of these during the program, and I remember going over to his place in his apartment, and this TV, it was like 52 inches, and it wasn't as deep as the original boxes. This is when it got a little shorter, but it still took up half his apartment living room, and it seemed a little crazy. And then the bulbs would go out and you'd have to buy a new bulb, and they were like $50. So that was kind of the last big box TV technology before flat screen really took off. And just fast forward a couple years from there, in 2007, which I think is a date Eric called out when he was doing the history of retail, we bought our first flat screen TV for $1,200. It was the Sharp Aquas, which was top of the line back then. And it was a great deal for $1,200 because they were going for $2,000 at retail. And we got a friends and family deal. And we still have it up in our bedroom. It works great. But now here we are in 2020. And last week, my husband just went to Costco to buy a flat screen for work. He bought an 82-inch screen TV. This thing's more than 6 feet wide for $1,200. And I remember when they were coming out at CES and they were going for $80,000, $100,000. Like, you know, you had to be a celebrity to afford one of these things. And now anyone could buy one if they wanted to.
Look at where we've come. We've come a long way in what seemed to be a short amount of time, but it's actually been a while, which 2007 seems like it was yesterday, but it's amazing how far we've come and where we are now. I love that story. So speaking of which, obviously, strategies have had to shift course and just
big time
had to change so quickly from even last year to this year, right? And based on what we were hearing from everybody, what direction do you think 2021 is going to take when it comes to marketing overall? What do you sort of foresee in the future there?
Yeah, so 2020's definitely forced a lot of change. I think it sped us up, on things we had planned to do in the future, and maybe it was going to be another year or 3 years, and here we are 6 months or 9 months later. And we've had to focus and prioritize these things, which is great. So it's brought amazing innovation, and us marketers are just trying really fast to keep on top of these things and stay in front of them. But the overall themes we're calling for 2021, we've summed up into 5 C's. So we're calling them humanized, hyper-local, connected commerce that's centered around connection, content, communication, community, and I snuck a 5th one in there for customer experience. So brands that pull all 5 of those levers into their marketing strategy next year and activate them flawlessly together, those are the brands that are going to win the post-COVID consumer.
Interesting. I can't wait to dive into each one. I mean, we have just seen digital transformation take hold this year. I think brands and companies thought that they had a little bit more time to get it all figured out. And it's really been speeding up 5 years of innovation into really 6 to 9 months. So how will that affect marketing strategies for 2021? Maybe, can you walk us through like how that looks?
So let's start with connection, the first one of the C's here. So content was king, and now video was king, but connection is gonna still be the name of the game. It was this year, as we can't shop in person and we need to stay home and we don't get to live life and shop the way we normally would. And we're gonna see that continue next year, right? We don't have a vaccine yet. People might not be comfortable yet, but we still crave a human connection. That's just who we are. So you'll see the need for human connection going into next year for sure. And if your brand isn't able to connect with shoppers in person, you've got to create that authentic human connection somehow, somewhere else, whether that's on your e-commerce site, in a virtual Bright store, or with virtual sales staff. So that's why we're seeing all this innovation, is to really meet that need. When, where, and how you meet and greet your customer is changing. So we're entering an age of hyper connectivity, where all those gears have to work together so that your customer can not only find you as a brand, but the connection with you and that affinity. And it has to be over a bunch of different touch points. It has to be online, at pickup, in the store. There's so many different ways we can shop and interact now, and we need to work really well together. So that might mean, for us marketers, investing in different channels and spreading our budget out differently than we have in the past. So I think our priorities are going to shift with our spending.
Really interesting. And to lessen and not putting all of your eggs in one basket, right? Like you don't want to be all in retail. You don't want to be all in online either. You need to have span everything.
That's right.
It's very interesting. So I know we used to say content used to be king, and we even talked about experience is king. There's lots of kings of the castle.
Kings in marketing, I guess we like that phrase. But content's important. It's not going away by any means. But I think what the shift is going to take place in content, and is going to already doing that, but we'll see more of it, is that it has to support the human connection. So our reason for creating content is changing. Instead of creating content for awareness or impressions or SEO, and we still need all of those things, but we also now have to create a human connection with that. So brands are going to have to come to market with strong e-commerce sites if they didn't have them before. You might need more product photography than you ever had, because people are, spending more time looking online because they can't touch and feel in store as much, or maybe they don't want to. You're going to need video content and unboxing events or stories, and just having those answers ready for your customers, for them to find in the method that they want to shop with you. So it's speeding us brands and marketers and retailers up on our digital transformation for sure. And it's just a requirement of the buyer journey now, is to have great content, because today's consumers are well advised. They're right here, right now. Google introduced us to that term micro moments to describe consumers' expectations of that immediate gratification. And COVID's made us even more, having this sense of instant gratification. Our expectations have sped up, I guess, is what I want to say. So when we're ready to go or buy or do or shop, we want to find the information right away. So our content needs to support that exploration and immediate gratification now.
Absolutely. I think it's obviously those are all such great points, and we're continuing to see how that evolves. So then I want to go into, 2021, what kind of trends are we actually going to see that are new or sort of coming out of 2020? What have we learned, and where are we going to go with some of this stuff? What do you foresee?
I've got a few stories for you. So we want to go ahead and talk about those remaining 3 C's. We've got communication, which is always a core component of any marketing strategy, but the key change that's happening is being authentic, which isn't new, but we also have to be quick to engage, and that's key. So what we've seen change in terms of our authenticity this past year is that you have to feel human, and your audience can sniff a fake authentic message 100 miles away. So we have to be more careful as we message to our audience, which is making it difficult for marketers for sure. This can make or break our brands. We saw this happen in 2020 over and over and over again. If you said the wrong thing, or if you didn't say anything at all, that's been the shift. You could lose your customer by not speaking out. They will turn on your brand. We saw this a ton on social media. And there were a lot of negative examples of that. But one great example that's positive that I just saw really recently actually was with Chipotle. And this goes back to that quick communication and just, talking to your shoppers who want to talk with you. So Chipotle, there was this guy on social media who tagged Chipotle because he wanted a burrito for dinner. And his wife wanted him to make the salmon that was in the fridge. But they quickly responded with a tweet or Instagram post. I don't remember which it was. I couldn't find the story, but they invented Sarah's National Burrito Day or whatever his wife's name was. And he showed that message to his wife, sent her to her on a text, and that guy got his burrito for dinner. That wouldn't have happened if that brand wasn't right there, right now, ready to respond.
God.
That's communication. For community, we've been hearing that term a lot this year, and I think that's just going to continue, right? Everyone's been hyper sensitive to supporting our community, supporting each other, helping shops and restaurants that are struggling. We've seen all the messages to get takeout from local places to keep our restaurants alive. And then we're seeing that trend continue into holiday with the holiday shopping season. Shoppers are looking to buy gifts locally and from small businesses, maybe more than ever before. I think that's a concern or just top of mind, a way of giving back that consumers have. So in 2021, we're saying that brands will need to seek out local personalized tactics that are relevant to your audience in order to keep your customer engaged. So even if you're a large global company, look for those hyper localized tactics to maintain a sense of community among your loyal fans. Yeah. I will give a shout out to the big brands though. I know you guys are getting snubbed for faring well during the pandemic while these smaller companies are suffering, but let's not forget that these big companies are the ones who are employing people in our local communities. So don't be afraid to give them a few of your bucks as well.
I love that.
Our last one is consumer experience or customer experience. And we heard that a lot on this episode of HypeHour, actually. And I think that has made a big shift this year. Our expectations have changed because of all this innovation. And who wants to go back? We heard Andrew say he's never going to set foot in a grocery store. I mean, I'll be the first to admit that I feel like this has made me lazy. Why go to the grocery store if I don't have to? So now customers expect a great experience virtually and remotely and online, not just in person, because COVID has brought all this great innovation to us and we're not going to want to say goodbye to it. Yeah. A couple examples for me are Target BOPUS. That experience is seamless. Get on at 6 a.m, order something that you need. They let you know when it's ready. You pull up and in a few minutes, a friendly rep is at my car window. I hold up my phone with my code and they check it and they load my trunk and I drive off and I don't have to unbuckle a crazy toddler. Who doesn't want that?
Yeah.
The other one is going back to that grocery situation. I am guilty of using Instacart probably more than I should, but these shoppers are getting savvy, the Instacart shoppers. I had a guy who messaged me from Costco, one of my shoppers, and said that my rosé was out of stock, and he tried to upsell me on a more expensive one. And he said, I can recommend this. It's in the same price range. Would you like to switch to this? I was shocked. And then a few minutes later, he's like, they're unloading more toilet paper. There's a whole pallet. Can I grab you toilet paper? I didn't need toilet paper, but man, this guy is trying to upsell me live on the floor and increasing my shopping cart size in real time. That's amazing.
Wow. That's just a great example of how all these different technologies and platforms and solutions can really come together to build, obviously, a great customer experience, which wraps it up so nicely with a nice little packaged bow, right?
Oh, that's right. So 2020 has changed my shopping expectations, and I know I don't want to go back. I think I'm going to have higher expectations for personalization, curation, and a great experience for sure.
Yeah, I think all of us will not want to go back. We've had too many great things come out of this year, even though it started off in a really interesting spot, in an interesting pickle. And now we're here and we have so many things to be thankful for, but then also to look forward to in 2021. So with that, thank you so much, Melissa, for joining us.